Alright, let's be honest. Who here has ever thrown away food just because it was past its date? That yogurt in the fridge, those eggs that are just a few days over, or maybe a bag of chips that you thought would turn to dust at midnight. Well, plot twist, those dates don't mean what you think. Today we're diving deep into the mystery of expiration dates, and trust me, what we find might save you a bunch of money, and maybe a trip to the grocery store. So stick around. Quick poll, do you think Best By dates are about food quality or food safety? Vote now and we'll reveal the answer later. Did you know that 37% of food waste in the United States comes from households like yours and mine? And about 20% of that food goes to waste because people aren't sure what those labels mean. So much of this food is still perfectly fine to eat, so why are we tossing it? That's like tossing perfectly good cash in the trash. But why is this happening? What do these dates even mean if they're not about safety? Buckle up. We're about to find out. Back in the day, before processed foods in supermarkets, people relied on sight, smell, and taste to know if food was still good. If it didn't smell funky or look off, you probably just ate it. But fast forward to the 1970s, and we get the open dating system. Date labels first started appearing in the decades following World War II, as American consumers increasingly moved away from shopping at small grocery stores and farms and toward supermarkets, with their rows of packaged and curated options. At first, manufacturers printed a date code on cans and packages for the benefit of the grocer, so they'd have a guideline for when to rotate their stock. The label was not designed for consumers, but since shoppers wanted to buy the freshest food on the shelf, savvy folks started publishing booklets that gave a guide for deciphering the codes. Eventually, producers, seeing that shoppers actually wanted to know what those secret dates were, started including more clearly readable dates on the packages with month, day, and year. They saw it as a marketing boon. It was a way to attract consumers and signify that your food was fresh and flavorful. Consumers loved it, and the so-called open date labels became common. But there was little consistency about them. Basically, a way for manufacturers to give their best guess on how long the food will be fresh. Here's where things get interesting. Those dates you see, they're about food freshness, not necessarily safety. Yep, when you see Best By, it means the product is at peak quality by that date, not that it's suddenly gone bad. According to the USDA, for example, many foods are still safe past their labeled dates. So, let's debunk a few myths. First up, canned foods. Properly stored canned goods can last years. The key here? No bulging or rusting on the cans. Those are red flags that the food's gone bad. For eggs, they're usually good for up to 5 weeks in the fridge. And when eggs spoil, trust me, your nose will know. Then there's pasta, rice, and crackers. These dry goods might get stale over time, but they won't harm you even if they're expired. And in the freezer, as long as it's kept at a low temperature, food can last almost indefinitely. According to the FDA, frozen foods are technically safe forever, though they might not taste quite as great if they've been in there for a few years. Now don't go chowing down on everything past its date just yet. Of course, some foods need a bit more caution. The USDA recommends eating or freezing raw meat within days of buying it. Also, for items like deli meats, ready-to-eat salads, and unpasteurized cheeses, it's better to follow the use-by date, since these can carry harmful bacteria even if they look fine. And for infant formula, the use-by date is regulated for safety. In a survey from 2019, over 70% of Americans said they rely on date labels to decide if food is still edible, and almost 60% said they'd toss food just for being past that date. Imagine all that food we're throwing away because of a number. Some experts have a solution. They recommend 2 simple label types: best if used by for freshness and used by for safety. U.S. researchers estimate that setting these standards could save around 398,000 tons of food every year. Imagine that. And if you're in the UK, some grocery stores have even started removing date labels on produce, so people start using their senses to judge freshness, not just a printed date. In France, it's even law that supermarkets donate unsold food instead of throwing it away. So, what's the takeaway? Use your senses, not just your calendar. If you want to be part of the solution, use your senses. Look, smell, and taste. Those instincts have been keeping us safe for centuries. So next time you see a date on your food, don't just toss it without checking. Let's be mindful, save money, and reduce food waste. Let me know in the comments. Were you surprised by any of this, and have you ever eaten food past its date? And how did it go? Let's hear some stories. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you learned something new today. Thanks for watching, and remember, your fridge might be holding on to some hidden treasures.